hopefully this is another great game, Dalton, because I'm actually going to be in attendance to this game with my family. It's my number 10 Penn State Nittany Lions against number 11 Ole Miss in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, which is at noon on Saturday, December 30th. The opt-outs in this game for Penn State, as of right now, is just Chop Robinson. Chop Robinson announced that he's declaring for the NFL draft. Could be a top 15 pick. I think we have him at number 11 right now on our big board. Yeah, number 11. He's a 92.5 grade since last season, which is third among all edge defenders in the country. And actually, I don't know if you saw this, Dawn, but Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin, who has one of the best Twitter accounts, so follow him if you don't already. He actually, in Chop's post, when we tweeted out these opting out of the bowl game, Lane Kiffin quote tweeted and said, "Congrats on a great career." Kind of like a wink, wink, like, "Hey, thanks for not playing against us in this game." But yeah, Chop Robinson not playing in this game. As of right now, that's kind of it for Penn State, because right now, Olu Fashanu said that he will be traveling to the bowl game, but he has not decided yet on whether or not he's going to be playing in the bowl game. So he is practicing with the team right now, but we don't know if he's going to play in the bowl game, but he is traveling to it. So maybe he does play. And Kalen King also has not announced yet what he's doing. And they are both top 50 prospects on the big board as well. But Ole Miss, there really isn't anyone. There isn't anyone that's in the transfer portal. There really isn't a top prospect either for them that's opting out either. So Ole Miss, kind of like Missouri, is kind of at full strength going into this Peach Bowl. So what are you looking forward to, Dalton, in this matchup between Penn State and Ole Miss?
This game is about whichever team gets the run game going. I'm going to take the Ole Miss angle on this. We've seen it. Their offense runs through Judkins and Bentley, and then the play action with Dart. Jackson Dart's one of the best play action passers in the country. Not really close to one of the best drop back passers in the country. Lane Kiffin gets very creative in his run game, very creative in the pass game, a little bit different than a lot of teams do it now, where most teams kind of take I want to call it the Kyle Shanahan approach of attacking over the middle and after the catch. Ole Miss throws it down the field, down the sideline. So Kalen King, if he does play, is going to be challenged in this game to not give anything up over the top, right? Now, the problems that Ole Miss has had in their tighter games or their losses to Alabama and Georgia is their run defense. Look, we talked the other day about why they're loading up so much in the portal in the middle of their defense on the D line and at safety and at linebacker. This is why, because their run defense it was the difference in their season, right? They could have won. At least the Alabama game could have kept themselves a lot tighter in it, because you can't just win one way. You can't just win with explosive plays and not being physical with certain teams at some point. And Penn State's as physical as it gets, right? They're the 11th. They have the 11th best run D grade in the country. They play Big Ten football, and they're third in the country in cover grade against play action. So there's a lot about Penn State's defense that could cause Ole Miss some problems. Now, Chop Robinson not being in there, that's a win for Ole Miss for sure, yeah, especially if they get themselves into drop back situations. But I'm looking at Ole Miss needing to run the ball well on early downs. Now, Judkins had a great game against Mississippi State, forced 15 missed tackles, which might be a season high for anybody. I'd have to look at it. When he's on, he's really on, and they get, along with Ulysses Bentley, when they get this run game going, then Lane Kiffin gets in the play action bag, in the trick play bag, in the read option bag, all of that stuff. I think he's the best play caller in the country, but they have to get to it. On the other side, I mean, we've just seen Penn State's offense be inconsistent all year, but this is a game with an Ole Miss team that's 73rd in run D grade and really has not been good in their primetime games against the run. They have to get Allen and Singleton going, right? And I think another story here with Penn State is you mentioned Robinson as the opt-out, but they also have already lost both coordinators.
Yeah.
Right. You've got fired the offensive coordinator. Manny Diaz is now at Duke. I mean, you're talking about a team with no coordinators without their best defensive players. They really need to get on the ground, control this game in the run game, which gets even tougher if they don't have Fashanu. Aller, we like Drew Aller a ton, right? But it's just not been consistent enough, especially on the outside in the passing game, to think that they're going to stick around in a high-flying game. They need to win the same way they've won all year. Defense, Allen, Singleton, grind it away, be more physical. That's Penn State's road. But it's going to be about whichever team gets their run game going first, especially on early downs.
Yeah, my matchup, it was kind of a broad matchup, and honestly, it sounds like, no dub, but it's like, dude, it's just Ole Miss's offense against Penn State's defense. Like, that is a really broad matchup, like I said before, and you did a great job of kind of narrowing it down, but it really is just one of the top offenses in the country with one of the best play callers against a really, really good defense all around, too. Penn State led the nation in an EPA per play And we're one of only 3 defenses in the country to have 90+ grades in coverage, run defense, and pass rushing. All 3 phases of defense that we grade, they had 90+ grades in all 3. So they were one of only, like I said, only 3 defenses to do that. Penn State will be without Chop Robinson. I think is a great point you made too. Manny Diaz also not coaching in this game. He's now Duke's head coach. So it's another big loss for Penn State, who actually just hired Tom Allen. I don't know if you saw that, Dalton. Tom Allen, Indiana's former head coach, Penn State hired. So another former head coach Penn State bringing in as a defensive coordinator, because obviously Manny Diaz was at Miami as the head coach before he came over to Penn State. So kind of hopefully another one they do right there. I love the hires that James Franco's made this year. Obviously Kansas' offensive coordinator coming in as well. I do think it'll still be a really good edge group because Penn State is really, really good at edge. Disa Isaac is a really, really talented player. He's had like an 82 grade this year. He's the other edge defender for Penn State. And then another guy who I'm really, really excited about to see, especially next year, Denai Dennis Sutton, who is a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He's graded out really highly on the snaps that he's played. He played about 378 snaps this year. He had a 75.7 grade. So he's a freak athlete, former 5-star recruit. He's going to be one of the starting edge defenders next year, obviously with Chop Robinson leaving. So I'm excited to kind of see him in kind of his first true starting role against Ole Miss. I still think it's going to be a really good, talented defensive line. But Ole Miss, man, they're top 20 in the country in overall grade, passing grade, receiving grade, and rushing grade. The only place where they're not, good at on offense is the offensive line. They are 84th in pass blocking grade this year and 68th in run blocking grade. So like I said, even though Chop Robinson is not playing, and that's a major loss for Penn State, don't get me wrong, I still think Adisa Isaac and Denai Dennis Sutton can create some havoc in the front for Penn State. So Penn State's defense, I don't think you need to get in the game where you rely on your secondary to cover Ole Miss, because like you mentioned, Lane Kiffin and those receivers and Jackson Dart and Quinshon Judkins, man, they will beat you if you let them. I think you got to win this game in the trenches for Penn State. And I think even without Chop Robinson, I think there's an avenue for Penn State to do that. So ultimately, Dalton, who do you think is winning the Peach Bowl between the Nittany Lions and the Rebels?
This was maybe the hardest game to pick the entire bowl season because of the contrast in styles and both teams being really talented in their strengths and what they do. I've been back and forth in this, and Penn State does have an advantage in the trenches, but I'm going to lean towards Ole Miss. I think I know you're going to hate it, but I think this game is intriguing, I think, too, because these are two programs in very similar states. Penn State's clearly the 3rd best team in the Big Ten, and with more competition coming in now.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, you could very well argue between them and Missouri as the 3rd best team in the SEC. Both lost to the 2 elite teams, and just kind of trying to establish themselves. It's very possible the winner of this game could walk into next year as a top 5 team, right?
Yeah.
I think this is the right game for both these teams to be playing across from a motivated opponent. This year, if there was a 12-team playoff this year, they would have both been in it, right? Ole Miss with all of the transfers coming in, they're loading up for next year. Penn State trying to figure out the coordinator situations, trying to surround Drew Aller with more, right? These are two teams in a very similar. I think this is a huge game. This might actually be the biggest game when it comes to like ramifications for next year out of any game in this bowl season outside of the playoffs, right? So I think I'm leaning Ole Miss though. I love Penn State's defense. I think Chop Robinson is a big loss because their pass rush to me is their best asset.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've seen good offenses. Michigan ran the ball every single play. Ohio State basically threw a slant to Marvin Harrison every single. I don't think they've seen an offense this weird. And Lane Kiffin's even weirder when you give him 3 weeks to sit around and think of things. I mean, he's it's kind of there's a ton of diversity. Now again, Penn State's avenue, punch him square in the mouth, score first, play defense, make Dart drop back and throw the ball. You'll be set, right? Win a game 21-17, something like that. But I think there's always just something in these spots about Lane Kiffin that it's hard for me not to believe in when he's got extra time to prepare. The more time he has to watch the tape, I think the more creative he gets. I think he finds a way to get his athletes the ball in space, the misdirection. And honestly, it's hard for me still, especially if Fashanu is 50-50 or not going to play or going to play limited snaps or what have you. It's hard for me to trust Penn State's offense. And this is still not the best SEC defense, but it's a reasonably decent defense. Like I think, and especially with more time to prepare, Penn State's going to have to be. There's one road I see: just be really, really physical. If they score first, Ole Miss is in trouble. But I'm going to take Kiffin. I'm going to take Ole Miss. I'm going to trust offense over defense this time, and I'm going to go 27-20 Ole Miss.
All right. I'm obviously picking the Nittany Lions here. I'm taking them 28-24. I couldn't go against the Nittany Lions. I do think that's a great point that you made. I really think these are two very similar programs in that you're kind of listen, Penn State's losing some talent this year. Don't get me wrong. Chop Robinson, Olu Fashanu, Kalen King. They're gonna lose some really good players. They're bringing back a lot though. And you look at the rest of the Big Ten right now, Oregon, maybe save for Oregon because they are going to be really good. The rest of the Big Ten is like Michigan could be losing Jim Harbaugh. Maybe they lose JJ McCarthy as well. Ohio State, what the heck are they going to do now without all these receivers? And obviously, Ohio State always reloads, but they have a big question at quarterback right now. Washington losing a ton, obviously. Michael Penix Jr. gone, Roma Dunze gone, all the other receivers gone as well. I think as an advocate for Penn State, I think Penn State's probably looking ahead to next year saying, hey, we have a lot of guys coming back. We have Drew Aller coming back, who's probably the best quarterback in the Big Ten heading into next season. Maybe Dylan Gabriel has an argument for that as well, but you're looking at that and you're like, man, we could make a run for the Big Ten title. Look at Ole Miss. We just talked about it in the last episode. Ole Miss is probably going to be a top 5 team in the country in the preseason rankings because of how they're bringing back everyone. And they're also adding a ton of talent in the transfer portal. I think they've been the best team in the portal so far. And like I said, they feel like a Florida State where they bring back everyone from a top 10-ish team like Florida State was the year before. And Florida State made the jump because they brought back everyone and they brought in a lot of talent. And now they should have been a playoff team. I think Ole Miss could make that same jump, man. So I think these are two teams that are kind of looking ahead to next year and getting excited about the prospects of what next year could be. Two underrated quarterbacks too. I think Jackson Dart and Drew Aller do not get enough love. I'm really excited for this game. I think it'll be a really, really fun game. And like I said, there aren't a lot of opt-outs in this game either as of right now. So I'm taking Penn State 28-24. I think they win the battle in the trenches. I think they punch Ole Miss in the mouth, like you said. I think they win this game. And little fun fact, Dalton, if Penn State wins this game, they will be the first school in college football history to win every New Year's Six bowl game. No school has ever won every New Year's Six bowl game in their history. If Penn State wins the Peach Bowl, which they haven't done yet, if they win the Peach Bowl, they'll become the first school ever to win every single New Year's Six game. So I think that's a pretty cool history right there. Penn State could pull off if they win this game.